How many calories should you eat? This is a question we get asked all the time, and for good reason. Well, in today's podcast, we're going to dive into this question and educate you on counting calories, counting macros, and give you the tools and resources you need to reach your fitness goals, whether that is to build muscle, burn body fat, or simply just prioritize your health. Before we hop into today's episode, if you're looking for more structure and specific tailoring to your macro needs and your macro goals, we have two different resources on our website for you. So if you're watching on YouTube, you can go down to the link in the description in the comments below to fitgrindformula.com. You can click on that link. We have a form on our website where you can fill out that form and we'll specifically calculate your macros for free. And then we also have a macro cheat sheet that you can download, which is a PDF document that is going to give you more examples of what a good fat, a good carb, a good protein source is going to be. So, like I said, if you're looking for more structure, go check those out on our website. If you're not watching on YouTube, head over to fitgrindformula.com and you can find both of those resources to give you more in-depth information and customization to you.
Welcome back to today's episode. And today we are going to be talking about macros, nutrition, all things on, figuring out what best fits into your lifestyle and your diet. So kind of whether or not you're deciding to lose weight, gain weight, maintain, kind of jumping into all of that stuff.
Yeah, I think that's a huge question that we get all the time. How many calories should I eat? What should my macros be? Are carbs good? Or is fat good? Are carbs bad? Is fat bad? There's a lot of confusion around it. And I think, a lot of people, overcomplicate it. And that's what our goal is today, is to really not complicate macros, kind of just educate you on if you want to gain weight, if you want to lose weight, if you want to maintain your weight. This is kind of how you're going to do that and how you're going to structure your diet around those goals and just provide some more information and structure around calories, macros, and just nutrition in general.
Yeah, simple is always going to be better when it comes to nutrition. Sometimes people like to spice things up a little bit too much, and then it makes things more complicated.
Yep.
And that can go with even weight training as well. Sometimes people think they need to do these extravagant workouts or these extravagant, recipes that they saw on Pinterest, and putting in the more effort and more energy to do those things is not something that is in your norm, so it becomes out of your routine, and then you have to exert more energy to do those things. Whereas if you can find just foods that you enjoy and that you like specifically, then you can repeat those meals.
So let's start this podcast out by just kind of explaining basic energy balance and how you're either going to gain weight, how you're going to lose weight, how you're going to maintain your weight. So at the end of the day, any three of those goals are going to come down to calories in versus calories out. If you're looking to gain weight, you need to eat more calories than your body's burning. If you're looking to lose weight, you need to eat less calories than your body's burning. If you're looking to maintain, generally need to be about even, where you're burning as many calories as you're eating.
Yep.
That looks very different for a lot of different people, and the types and quality of food that you're eating, the types of workouts that you're doing are going to determine the weight that you're gaining, whether it's good weight or bad weight.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, I think people, they try and do all these crazy different diets, and they're like, there's always a fad diet that's out. There's always the next best thing that someone's trying to capitalize and make money on. But at the end of the day, it's very simple. It's calories in, calories out. You do need structure, so you can't just eat all of your calories from carbohydrates and fat and no protein, because you're going to lose muscle,
right?
Or vice versa. You can't have zero carbohydrates in your diet because you're afraid of carbs, and you're only eating protein and fat, which is the basis of a keto diet. But
yeah,
I think people overcomplicate things, and that's been my experience too. That people they're just so lost.
Yeah.
There's just so much misinformation out there. But at the end of the day, we are here to reassure you that it is simple. You just have to stick with that, and you have to stick with something before you switch to the next thing. I think that's a big area where I see people kind of overcomplicate it and kind of just spin their wheels.
Yeah, before we jump into each one, I do want to mention that when you are in a deficit, a gain, or a, just maintaining your weight, you do have to also be mindful of the foods that you're eating. So you want to make sure that you're still getting in the micronutrients that your body needs. So just because you're in a calorie deficit and you're eating less doesn't mean that we neglect fruits, vegetables, and the color of the rainbow. We want to make sure we're getting all those micronutrients in as well. And same thing with bulking. It doesn't mean we're eating just piles of rice with no vegetables, or a big large pizza because it fits your macros, which is great. There's nothing to say that those things don't work, but I truly believe in also being healthy and including those fresh vegetables and fruits. So
yeah, no matter what your goal is, if you're looking to gain weight, lose weight, or maintain your weight, we say this all the time. 80 to 90% of your food should be structured around whole food sources.
Yes.
The other 10 to 20%, like if you want to fit fun stuff in like that, or you want to go out to dinner with your family, we are all about practicing that balance. But you have to take care of what needs to be taken care of first. You need to structure your food around whole food sources. You need to be eating clean protein sources. You need to be eating good sources of carbohydrates to fuel your body. You need to be getting enough vegetables and fruit throughout the day. And I think that, like you said, I think bulking gets a bad kind of stigma for this, because
mainly.
I think the mindset for people when they're trying to gain weight, or when guys specifically are trying to build muscle, it's like, we're gonna eat big to be big. You gotta you gotta eat all this food, and we're gonna get huge, bro. We're gonna eat all this food. But at the end of the day, what happens is they eat crappy food, and it just turns into a lot of excess body fat.
Yeah.
Versus if you're trying to gain weight and you're trying to put on muscle mass, that's awesome. But just eat more good food. So you're just eating more of the high quality food that you're already eating. It doesn't give you it doesn't mean that it give you an excuse to pound donuts and Pop-Tarts and cookies every day for every meal. Like, that's going to end up leading to a lot of excess body fat gain.
Yeah.
Or the same thing goes for, like you said, when you're dieting. Like, just because you can fit things in doesn't mean that you should every single day. Like, you should still have whole food sources, because, again, like you mentioned, it's healthy, but also it's just going to keep you full.
Satisfied
it's going to keep you satiated. Yeah. Otherwise, if you're structuring all of your food around very processed food, very high calorically dense food, but it fits your macros, yes, you're going to lose weight at the end of the day. But what's going to happen is it's going to be harder to stick with that, because the hunger is really going to set in. Somewhere down the road, you're going to be like, man, I fit a cookie into my macros today, or I fit something that is not deemed as necessarily healthy into my macros. I fit that in every day, but it's eating a bunch of your calories up. You're going to run into hunger issues down the road. So by default, it's going to make you pick healthier food choices that are going to be more filling.
Yeah, and those sugary processed foods become more you crave them more. The less that you approach the diet with more processed things, the easier it is going to be to come off of that bulk,
For sure.
Whereas, like, if you are in that bulk and you're eating those processed foods, and then you go into a deficit right after, it's going to feel like you're eating nothing. Yeah. But when you're in a deficit, adding in like fruits and vegetables is very voluminous. So that helps the diet and helps you feel more full and satiated. But in a surplus, it's harder to get in your fruits and your vegetables. Maybe fruits are a little bit easier because they are higher calorie, but adding in vegetables to your already 300 grams of rice seems like just an added unnecessary thing. But at the end of the day, it's going to help you stay healthy and also digestively.
Yeah.
So
you mentioned something about about not necessarily healthy food, foods that are not necessarily deemed as healthy, like sugar. Yeah. That's why we can't keep that stuff in the house.
No.
It is so addictive. Who has a serving size of chocolate, or
there's people that can, and
we had those Lindt chocolates. I think you got for Christmas. Your fault. Yeah, I think I did get you those for Christmas. They're really good. They're dark chocolate, but I think a serving size is 2. But it's man, you have 2, and you're like, okay, I want 2 more.
Yeah.
You have 2 more, and you're like, okay, I want 2 more. And before you know it, you've had 8, and you're like, shoot.
Yeah,
that was a lot of calories. That's a big trick that we like to follow. Is if you can't handle it, don't even keep it in the house, because then you have to go out and get it. So let's talk next about metabolism. Let's talk about how many calories are burning throughout the day. Now, obviously, like we said, we have that full form on our website. where if you want a personalized macro calculation, you can fill out that form and we will personally calculate your macros for you. Because each individual is unique, and the macros that we calculate are going to be a really good starting point, but there's also so many factors that are going to play into that. But basically with your metabolism, you have kind of want to go into basic energy balance. One issue that a lot of people run into, especially that are trying to lose weight, is, it sounds silly, but they're not eating enough food. They're not eating enough calories throughout the day. And why this becomes problematic is because when you don't eat enough food to, one, support your daily energy needs, but two, also just your body composition changes, what happens is your body thinks that it's not getting enough food, thinks that it's starving, and it is not going to get rid of body fat. If you are not eating enough food, at the end of the day, body fat is a really good energy source. If you think about, back in caveman times, if you didn't know when your next food source was going to come, your body would store body fat so that it could use that, if you went a week or 2 weeks without food. So if your body thinks that it's starving, it's not going to get rid of its main energy source, that can be used very, very readily. So you have to make sure that you're eating enough food. And that sounds so silly, but that's a huge problem that we run into with clients that we train here, with clients that we train online, especially for people that are trying to lose weight, is they're not eating enough food. And it sounds so counterintuitive. But basic kind of energy balance, we have what's called a basal metabolic rate. And that number is the amount of calories that if you just laid in bed all day would be the amount of calories that you would burn just to function. And that is going to run anywhere from 1,400 for females, sometimes higher. For guys, it can run 1,800, 2,000, 2,200. And that's just calories that you're burning at rest. That's not adding exercise. That's not accounting the food or the calories that it takes to digest food. That's not counting walking upstairs, tapping your foot. So you do need to eat a good amount of food, and you never want to eat under that number.
Yeah, so you really have to be honest with yourself when you get started in your weight loss or your fitness journey, whether it be gaining, losing weight, or maintaining. But the idea is to really be honest with yourself. Say, what am I eating right now? Start tracking your food. See what you're eating right now. And then also being honest with yourself and saying, how much movement am I getting in? Am I sitting at a desk all day? Am I prioritizing movement to incorporate in my exercise routine? So being honest with yourself in that aspect is going to be easier for you to get the results and best determine where you should be at macro-wise. But, people, like Jordan mentioned, people always think they should be eating less and that they're eating too much in order to lose weight. And that is like the biggest problem that we run into with clients. And we are trying to scream through the mics that this is so false, because in order to lose weight, we have to build our metabolisms up and get to the point of what should be your maintenance calories. And then when you go to lose weight, you don't have to be at this crazy low number and kill yourself in cardio, which also isn't the answer to weight loss. But the idea is to get you in this comfortable calorie deficit that you don't feel like you're necessarily starving yourself. You should be hungry because you are in a deficit, so you're going to feel a little hungry. But there's ways around that. Drinking more water, adding in more vegetables and protein to keep you satiated for longer periods of time. But like I said, you got to eat more. And that's also going to help you hold on to that muscle mass, because the first thing to go is going to be muscle. If you're not giving it the proper nutrients that it needs, and you're working out and trying to build muscle and you see that you're losing weight, but you're losing muscle, that's going to happen. Like, it's natural to lose a little bit
here and there.
Yeah. But if you see a significant loss in muscle mass, typically that is a sign that you're not fueling properly.
Yes, exactly. That's, people really try and like you said, I need to eat less to lose weight.
Yeah.
You got half the equation right. Yes, you do need to eat fewer calories to lose weight, but it's, like I said, it's a range.
Yeah.
And we can kind of dive into like specific macros next, and even percentages of where we structure things. And again, this can look different for so many people depending on their goal. If your goal is to lose weight, we might structure things a little bit differently. If your goal is to gain weight, we might structure things a little bit differently. If your goal is to lose a lot of weight, we're going to structure it differently. If your goal is to gain a lot of weight, like there's so many different goals, and people's activity levels and even their workout intensity, all those types of things come into factor. But at the end of the day, the 3 things that contain calories are carbs, fat, and protein.
And alcohol.
And alcohol, yep. that should be limited, but obviously, you can enjoy a drink here and there. There's nothing wrong with that and won't ruin your fitness. But your carbs and your protein are going to have 4 calories per gram. Your fat is going to have 9 calories per gram. So fat is more energy dense. Has more energy per gram. But at the end of the day, like, we need all 3 of those macros in our diets. Your carbs are going to be good at helping your body get through workouts, having a good intensity. And like Alyssa mentioned, if you're starving yourself, you're not going to have energy to get through your day, let alone get through an intense workout. And that workout is what's really going to help you see the progress that you want to see. Mm-hmm. So we always like to structure carbs higher than people might think that they would need to eat carbs, even if they're trying to diet. So it's a huge area of opportunity that people can implement good, healthy carbs. Mm-hmm. Like we said, with that macro cheat sheet, we have good examples of some carbs that you can use. So make sure that you go download that after and listen to this podcast. But typically, the percentage-wise, what we like to start people off on is about 40% of their calories should come from carbohydrates, 30% should come from protein, which is going to be right around your body weights, 0.7 to 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight, and then fat is also going to be at 30%. Now, again, that's kind of base level, we can adjust things up and down depending on your goal. Say that you are looking to train for athletic performance, or you're really looking to maximize muscle gain. We might up those carbs a little bit, up the protein, maybe dietary fat comes down. Or you're really trying to dial in body fat. We might increase protein a little more, bring down carbs, keep dietary fat pretty moderate. But carbs are not bad, fat's not bad, protein's not bad. You just need the right percentage of each. And it all comes down to doing that consistently. I think people are so quick to say that a workout doesn't work or a diet doesn't work. But like you said, ask yourself, are you doing things consistently? Mm-hmm. And have you given yourself enough time?
Time and consistency.
Yes, that will never go out of style. Never. Yeah. If you were doing something for 4 weeks, for 8 weeks, for 12 weeks, for 16 weeks, and you're staying consistent with it, and you're trying to lose weight, and you're in a caloric deficit, you're hitting all your workouts, you're eating enough food but not too much food, you're going to see progress. It's plain and simple. Like we talked about, it's energy balance. It's very simple when we break it down. But I think one area where people go too wrong, like we talked about, is they either eat not enough food and they feel like zombies, or they're just inconsistent. And that's something we can dive into on an entire podcast. We could do an entire podcast on that. But that's something that I think the inconsistency is why you're not seeing progress. It's not the program. It's not the diet. It's not being able to adhere to the program, not being able to adhere to the diet consistently enough to see the progress that you want to see.
Yeah, and when we are calculating those macros for you, if you want those to be personalized, what we can do is say, hey, some people prefer higher fat, and that's okay. Typically, we're going to start off with a higher carb because we like to use the carbs as a energy source, but fats can be also used as energy sources. So I always tell people, I'm like, as long as you're hitting your protein, and if one day you want to go out for pizza with your family or something that messes up your macros a little bit, it's okay to adjust. Maybe I'm a little lower on my carbs and I go up a little bit on my fats. So I always tell people, as long as we're hitting that protein goal, and we can adjust a little bit here and there if needed, and staying within at least 5 to 10 grams. And then you don't have to plan on tracking your food for the rest of your life.
Exactly.
If you get consistent with tracking your food, your body will naturally start to tell you, hey, I'm hungry.
Yeah.
And you start also recognizing what each meal consists of. Like, we could eyeball our lunch and tell you how much sweet potato, how much rice, how much chicken or beef that we need for that meal, and then throw in whatever vegetable we have on hand.
Yep.
And the more simple you keep that, the easier it's going to be, and the easier it's going to be moving forward too, because the second we stop tracking, we want to create this lifestyle. Like I said before, these recipes and these crazy workouts that we're trying to do, are those really things that you're going to continue doing down the road? Like the bread and butter movements, the bread and butter staple meals are going to be the things that you're going to grasp onto and continue to do over and over again. So simple. We didn't even talk about this, but that's like exactly what I was thinking. You just went there. That was perfect. We're always on the same wavelength. But yes, fitness should add to your life. It should not be consuming. Say that you have a really specific goal. Okay, for the next 6 months, I want to lose 50 pounds. Okay, that's a big goal. You need to be consistent. Yeah, you need to tighten things up a little bit, be a little more strict for that 6 months. But say that you reach your goal, or say, hey, I want to put on 10 pounds of muscle in 6 months. Okay, let's really hammer down. Let's get really strict. Let's really tighten everything up. Let's work as hard as we can for the next 6 months. But say that you achieve that goal. We don't want to go back to old habits. What we need to do is we still need to continue doing the things that we do, but say that, hey, I want to loosely track a little bit more. I want to have a little more balance in my life. That's perfectly fine, because by tightening things up and by really understanding the types of food you need to be eating, how to feel your body properly, how to stay consistent with that, like you talked about, the signs of hunger, all those things that those habits that you're developing over the course of reaching that goal, they're now solidified. And now you just need to continue that healthy lifestyle. Maybe you start to go back to like a reverse diet, where it's more of like if you were in a really low caloric deficit trying to lose weight for a long time. Maybe we just reverse diet back up to maintenance, and you're happy with your results, and you just maintain your weight there, Yeah, you can see progress at maintenance.
You can still see muscle gain. You can still see body fat loss, body recomp. It'll be more subtle changes, but you still can see progress.
Yeah.
But that's the thing, is you have to track, you have to know the types of food you're eating. This food has this much, this food has this much. You have to do those things for the course of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 months to kind of understand how all the pieces fit together. But once you have that basic understanding, it becomes a lifestyle, and it becomes a lot less stressful, because like Alyssa said, like you don't have to track every single calorie that goes in your mouth for the rest of your life, because eventually it's going to get old. You're going to start to resent it, and you're not going to stick with it.
Yeah, been there, done that.
We both have, we both have over-tracked, been over-anal about it. And it's not fun. I don't find joy and fulfillment. It's not healthy. It's not healthy for our kids to see us do that, Like that's a whole another thing that, just being a good example for your children. So at the end of the day, like you have to figure out what your goals are, whether it's gain weight, lose weight, maintain weight. How big of a goal is it? And you need to ask yourself, like, is there a timeline associated with that goal? And if there is, and it's not a big timeline, we need to hunker down and we need to get strict. But also you need to realize that like this should add to your life. This should be a positive thing. It should be a negative thing. It shouldn't be consuming. It's very easy to get caught up in it. But just figure out what those goals are and set up a plan based on that, and give it enough time. Like stay consistent with it. There's so many people that are so quick to quit, or they go all in for a week or 2 weeks, and it's like, what's the percentage on New Year's resolutioners that quit by the end of January?
Yeah.
If they could have practiced a little more balance and found some structure, maybe hired a coach.
And not just
wink,
jumped.
wink. But in all seriousness, like if you can practice more balance and create some structure and be patient, I think that you can achieve anything you set out to do. It's just you have to give your body enough time to see those changes and set realistic expectations around that.
Yeah, it's also important that you know that you can't be in a deficit forever.
Yes.
We cannot, no matter if you're like, I have a goal to lose 50 pounds or 100 pounds, we need diet breaks. So our bodies will eventually plateau, and we can't just keep cutting calories and keep adding in the
nowhere to go.
The cardio. Yeah.
Eventually you're going to eat nothing.
Yes. And that doesn't mean you're going to even lose weight at that point, because your body is stressed. So what happens when we're stressed? We hold on to weight, we hold on to body fat. And the idea is to get people to lose some weight. And then when we see that plateau, it might be time to take that diet break. And we bring them back up to maintenance slowly, reverse diet, hang out at maintenance for a little bit, and then we go back and go into another cut phase. But this whole process is patience. You have to have patience, and you have to have consistency, and you have to trust the process, because the process might feel slow, but the process is what's going to work, and something that's going to be able to turn into a lifestyle, and not something that's a quick fix and comes off quickly but comes right back on quickly. The slower it takes to get it off, the more naturally it comes off. Yeah.
Or on.
Yeah. But the slower it takes to get it off is the easier we're going to be able to keep that off. Yeah. So the healthier we are with the approach, the better, because then we are likely to continue this lifestyle and continue to lose the weight and not see that weight come back right away. If you lose 20 pounds in, a week or two, that's probably going to come back because you probably cut out carbs and went into like an 800 calorie cut, and your body is now insulin resistant, and you eat a donut and boom.
You smell a donut and you gain weight.
Yeah. So don't do that.
Yeah.
Don't do that to yourself.
Quick fixes never work. Just find a structure that you can stick with that is both physically and mentally healthy, and you can achieve any goal. We just got to give it time and just be patient. Focus on the progress in the gym. Focus on getting stronger. Focus on improving with your conditioning. Just focus on whatever types of fitness that you're practicing. Just focus on getting better and kind of get lost in that. And before you know it, you're going to see the changes on the scale either up or down that you're looking to see. Mm-hmm. So this has kind of been our full dive into calories, macros, how many calories you should eat, and all things nutrition. If you guys are looking for more support, make sure that you head over to fitgrindformula.com. Like I said, we have 2 different resources where you can download our macro cheat sheet to give you ideas of good carbs, fat, protein sources. And then on our website, we also have a form that you can fill out where you give us some information, and then we can personally calculate some macros and a good starting place for you, all for free. So like I said, if you're watching on YouTube, the link is in the description below. If you're listening on Spotify or some other podcast listening platform, head over to fitgrindformula.com and you can check both of those out.
Yeah, so let's get some gains, and we'll see you guys in the next one.
I love that.